Welcome to Meatheads. My name is Marc Lalonde. This week on Meatheads, we're going to be discussing our top meats. We're going to discuss 50-cent fat shaming at the Super Bowl and cardio controversy. Tune in for all of that and much more.
First Nations Wireless is now First Nations Fiber. You've seen our team working through the community to get you connected. From the new development to the OCR, from the 207 to Clay Mountains, FN Fiber makes fiber optic internet easy for everyone. Coming to Ganhawaga soon. Visit radio.fnfiber.com to sign up today.
So, welcome to Meatheads. My name is Marc Lalonde. With me, as always, the CEO of Total Fitness here in Ganhawaga, Delisle. Derek, it is a pleasure, as always, to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited about this broadcast this week, this podcast, this emission we're putting out into the world. I'm super jazzed because one of my favorite topics at heart is going to be one of our main topics today, and that's going to be protein, specifically meats. Okay, so we called this podcast Meatheads not because we love meat, but honestly, if you're a vegan, maybe this next segment is not going to be for you. Derek and I are going to rank our top 10 meats, cuts of meat, kinds of meat, and all of those different kinds of things, because they all have value in the post-workout recovery process. Derek, can you shed some light for us a little bit on how much that protein helps in the post-recovery?
Well, after you work out, your body needs to recuperate, and the first thing it's going to go for is protein, and you want to have the amino acids in your body so it doesn't eat itself. You know, so in the perfect world, you want to have your protein, possibly some carbs with it after your workout. Now, some people choose protein shakes. I prefer sometimes meals, to fill you up. It's more fun to eat than to drink a shake. I'm
right there with you. I am a meal guy 100% post-workout. I always have my shake first thing in the morning. That's how I like to operate. And then later on in the day, I like to have a light meal after my workout with some sort of complex carbohydrate, as you indicated. I love to have greens with my protein because I've noticed it helps me digest very well and makes me feel really good. I notice I have energy for a longer amount of time. And I notice also that, I'm able to my brain is able to operate at a higher level for longer.
Yeah, that's right. I remember last time I was here, I was talking about how I started like a workout program trying to trim down. And what I did differently that I've never done before was not to have a protein shake after my gym session. I'd simply go for a BCA drink. And I did that for probably the full month. And then I started realizing my performance was kind of suffering in the gym. Mm-hmm. So today, as I start my new phase, I started off with a protein shake. And after I had that, I went home and I had a little bit more energy. I felt better. I just felt fuller, stronger, and happier. So I do believe you do need protein after your workout. Mm-hmm. And I gave it a try to see what, if I didn't, it'll help lower my calories. But at the same time, my performance pretty much dropped.
Right. Yeah, I've noticed the same thing as well. I noticed that I have more energy in the morning if I have that protein shake, especially if I teach a class or I'm working out first thing in the morning. I noticed also that the later I work out, if I don't eat some sort of protein beforehand, my workout suffers as well. So my performance in the gym suffers. Fatigue sets in. My rest periods end up being longer. I'm sucking wind. I don't enjoy it. Speaking of sucking wind, we're going to get to, we were just discussing cardio fat loss, and we were going to put that down the agenda a little bit, but I wanted to touch base on it just now because you mentioned it earlier and we were talking about it. That's going to be in things that pissed us off this week in fitness, by the way. So we'll get to that segment a little bit later on, but Derek was mentioning, I was mentioning to him as well, that the two of us have added a little bit more cardiovascular exercise to our routines lately. Derek, you want to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, well, people know me. A lot of my clients, they know I never really believed in cardio. We used to say my cardio is just doing more reps on the squats. And I guess at that time in my life or that point in my training career, that's what I believed. I believe you didn't need much cardio. And this is also coming from somebody that was 25, 30 years old, where cardio didn't really benefit me anyways, because my workouts were pretty demanding. But as we get older, I guess my fat loss stalled. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, my calories are super low. I am training perfectly. What do I need to add to my mix instead of even training more? I said, hey, let me just try some cardio. Mm-hmm. Somebody recommended. I'm like, okay, I have a bike at the gym. I have a treadmill. Let me jump on it for a bit and see how it goes.
Right. So how often are you doing that these days?
Well, when I started, the guy that I get my information from, sometimes he recommended 45 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week on my off days. So that would leave Tuesday, Thursday, and the weekends.
Okay.
So that's what I pretty much did for like the last 2 to 3 weeks. And in those last 2 to 3 weeks, my body fat dropped and my overall weight dropped about 12 pounds. So I'm like, is this the missing factor of my training at age 46?
Right. And I think we had this discussion downstairs. And what I told Derek, and I'm going to tell all of our audience, is that for both of us, we're not getting any younger. Our bodies are becoming less and less efficient, and it takes more reps to get the same result. And more reps on aging joints tends not to be a great combination, right, at the risk of sounding really old. I'm trying not to add load or reps to my routine. I don't want to go heavier than I have to because I want to get the same results as I did 10 years ago. But I also don't want to, walk around all day like an old man Frankenstein, stiff, broken, and sore. So adding that cardio, I'm putting in 20 minutes on the elliptical after my workout, put on a movie, or I play a card game on my phone or something for 20 minutes. No problem. Off I go. And I found that there has been a really, really good benefit for me.
Yeah, it's not even just the fat loss. I find when I'm doing my cardio, the first 5-10 minutes, it does suck. But once you pass that time frame, then it's smooth sailing. You just keep going at it. You watch a video, you talk to a friend who's beside you, let's say, or you just keep your mind occupied. And then when you're done, you feel so much better that you actually did do it. It's more of the accomplishment, like, wow, I did 45 minutes. I didn't just sit down and do nothing. Right. I didn't just skip it because I don't believe in cardio. So I said, okay. And then after I did, I felt great. I even went in on a Saturday morning. I think it was about 8 o'clock. And even one of my clients that goes there in the mornings on his own, he's like, Derek, what are you doing here? And I said, cardio. And they just started laughing like I was kidding. Like, you're like, for real? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing cardio. I'm giving it a go. I'm seeing what the rave is. And people say they get that runner's high. After my cardio, it's like, wow, I feel good. I feel pumped. I feel energized. And it made my workouts easier, if that makes sense. Like I felt like I wasn't breathing heavy during squats. Sure. I was moving freely. And I just felt I had more energy at home to run around and do whatever I do.
And we, of course, both know that, it's largely recommended for most adults who are trying to be in shape that they should be doing cardio, up to an hour, 6 to 7 times a week, whether that's, a long walk at a high rate, or a run, or, riding an exercise bike or cross-country skiing or what have you. They should be doing that as well as weight training 4 to 6 times a week.
Yeah.
Realistically, we know next to no one does that, but it's still a recommendation. So I know that at my age, I'm starting to see the benefit, and I imagine you are as well.
Well, you see, I find a lot of people think they're going to burn too much muscle if they do cardio. Like, well, I'm training 3-4 days a week, and the extra cardio is going to burn off any muscle that I built. And I used to believe in that, but at the same time, every bodybuilder I've looked at in the say 80s and 90s back then when cardio was really popular, they were doing cardio all the time to trim down for contests. But I'm like, no, I can't do cardio. It's going to burn my muscle. But for them, it's not going to burn their muscles, right? No. So I'm like, well, it took me maybe 25 years. Hey, let me try cardio. Like not just try for a couple of times, but actually be on a program that has a cardio day and actually follow it. Yeah, it's like, I don't think people need to start off at an hour. Like, it's easy to walk around the block for an hour, just have fun. Being on a treadmill for an hour, it's kind of long. You could watch a movie, but it is kind of long. So I'd probably recommend people start off at 25 minutes, move up to 30 minutes, 35, 40, and then by that time, they're like, hey, this is simple. This is part of my everyday routine.
One of my fondest memories in life is the 2014 Women's Olympic Hockey Gold Medal game. I started on the elliptical trainer in the first period of that game with Canada down 2-0. And I said to myself, I'm going to stay on here until they win. So they won in overtime, but I was on that thing for 2 hours and 40 minutes. That was a long day. But to this day, I look back going, I'm like, I didn't even feel that go by because my mind was so occupied. And you look back and you're like, wow, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Okay, well, I guess a marathon's not so hard in the end. And so from there, I started, doing half marathons and marathons.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it's a whole different story. My running phase is behind me now, thanks to my torn quadriceps. But I really did enjoy that day. And as you said earlier, that runner's high, man, there is nothing like it in the world. Yeah. Like, you're just euphoric. Yeah. It's fantastic. I would if I could bottle that, man, I would. Speaking of bottling things, we're gonna touch base here. We're gonna move on and touch base with our main topic of the week, which is gonna be meats. So Derek and I both sat down and plotted out our top meats And we're dying to hear how this is going to go. Vegans beware. You might have the meat sweats when we're done here today. So if you're not like really into that, I would highly recommend turning it off right now. Our top 5 meats. Oh my God, I cannot wait. Derek, what's 5?
Well, the 5 is going to be albacore tuna. And it can't be any other tuna except that kind.
Albacore tuna.
Yeah, with some mayonnaise and some salt and pepper, and just either eat it just out of the bowl.
Right.
Very rare. I'll put on, or even if I put on a sandwich with some lettuce, it just, the taste of that tuna, it's much, because I grew up on the flaky stuff.
Yep.
The cheap stuff.
Yep. Star-kissed.
Exactly. So when I had the chance to buy my own food, I'm like, I'm going to get this $6 can of tuna and see what it's all about. And it was the best tuna I ever tried.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. What do you prepare that with, you said?
I put mayonnaise on there and salt and pepper, and that's it.
And that's it, eh? You just mix it up, and that's a meal.
Yeah,
wow.
eat it like that.
Albacore tuna. All right, very good. My number 5 is a classic for bodybuilders and trainers alike: boneless, skinless chicken breasts. The ubiquity of boneless, skinless chicken breasts cannot be overstated. They are fantastic. They're almost all 100% lean meat. They are nigh flavorless and can get really boring after a while.
Right.
How boring would you say?
You know, we have a lot of chicken in the house. It's so versatile to make anything. I like to make, salt and pepper chicken, Chinese style, and plain chicken. I would never just grill it and have a chicken breast on my plate. I find that I've lived off of that as a kid, and just
hard pass.
Yeah, a beginner bodybuilder, you're like, yep. Chicken rice.
Yeah, they're all protein. It's fantastic. It's nothing but good energy in
but
there.
Now it's got to be diced, sautéed, mixed up with veggies and some sauces. Or
I'm with you. That's why it's only 5 on my list.
Yeah.
It would be higher if they just weren't so damn boring.
Yeah, like it's high because it's versatile.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's really boring.
Really boring.
Poor chicken.
So boring. What I like to do is I'll flatten it out and then wipe it down. Drop it in an egg wash, bread it in this homemade coating I do with some breadcrumbs, pan sear it in a little bit of oil, and then bake. And that turns out like a chicken parmigiana type thing. And my kids really like an Italian sanguiche after I've breaded up the chicken breast that way. That's almost the only way they'll eat them these days, because after years of me serving them, like, can we just not have any more chicken breasts? Yeah, they're bored with it. So that makes sense to me. And so that brings us into our number 4 meat. Number 4, Derek.
Well, number 4, I'm starting to, in the last little while, eat red meat. I never really ate much of it because I guess I didn't really know how to cook it too often. And I started watching some cooking shows on YouTube and how to make the perfect steak. I'm like, okay, let's try this. So I picked up filet mignon and cooked it just the way they tell you to. And that's my number 4, filet mignon or beef tenderloin. It's a lean cut of meat. It's not so flavorful unless you season it and put that bacon around it. But that's my number 4 to go.
Well, I almost would argue that we're almost on exactly the same wavelength there, because my number 4 is top sirloin steaks. Specifically, there's a pack you get at Costco that's like 4 or 5 steaks, and it's a little bit cheaper than their rib steaks or their New York strip steaks, and they're leaner. They have usually a strip of fat on the side, but I just cut the fat off and grill, and it's a super lean beef that is really delectable. But as you say, you got to season it. What's your go-to seasoning for beef?
I just put usually just salt and pepper on it, and see, it depends on what kind of beef I'm making.
True.
Like this will go up on my higher end list, but I've learned to sear it, to roast it, to baste it in a cast iron frying pan, and it comes out so well. Rosemary, some garlic, some salt, pepper.
Sounds fantastic.
So good.
I am when I season my steaks. If I'm doing a top loin steak, I'm not going the full 9 with seasoning, because I know this is functional. These are meal steaks to be cut up, stripped, and thrown in with spinach for me to do for meals during the day. So I don't go crazy, but I go with garlic powder, salt, pepper, and a hint of Montreal steak spice, because I like the dill, which not everybody likes. So I like to get my top sirloins from Costco. Very quick seasoning. I use my California granulated garlic, also from Costco, and that makes a delicious steak. So we're moving into number 3. Our number 3 favorite meat.
I was going to go with eggs, and I just realized eggs isn't a meat.
Eggs not a meat.
It's not a meat.
It's not a meat.
I'd have to say bacon.
Bacon. Oh, God. Yeah, bacon. Bacon is a good meat.
Yeah, it's not a meat I'd eat on every meal.
No.
Like, I know once you cook it and the fat is gone, you're still left. But just 3 strips of bacon along with your eggs or along with your chicken even adds a whole lot of flavor.
A whole lot of flavor.
So it's not a sole source of protein for me, but it adds protein, flavor, and a whole lot of happiness at the house.
Well, we did say meats and not, low fat meats. So bacon is a meat and it qualifies beautifully. And it does go well with eggs, which was, I guess, your original number 3, all things considered.
Right. I was thinking about it right now.
My number 3 is close to my number 5. Is chicken breasts with back. Okay. And the difference is, of course, the backbone, the back that comes on it, because two things happen when you have bone in your meat. More flavor and you have more forgiveness in terms of your cooking. So I can throw a bunch of chicken breasts with back in the oven, 45 minutes in a casserole, some seasoning. It's going to come out in 45 minutes, and those chicken breasts are going to be damn near perfect. And that's the difference between boneless, skinless versus chicken breast with back. Even with the skin off on the breast with back, I would argue that they are just that much better. So that's my number 3, and I'm super excited to get to number 2. So I really, really want to talk about my number 1 too. So we'll get to those in a second. So number 2, favorite meat. Derek.
Well, right now it's going to be a rib steak. I made my own rib steak for the first time 2 weeks ago, me and my son. And that's where I followed this recipe I found online, how to braise it with your rosemary and everything. Cooked it perfect, and we sliced through it. And my son was like, Dad, this is like butter. I'm like, if it wasn't so high in calories and price-wise,
and expensive,
I wouldn't. I'd say that for like once a week thing, just because getting 7 of those,
so good. Yeah, 7 of those a week is it's asking a lot of money.
Yeah, so I kind of sneak it in for my lunch when no one's around.
I think that's hilarious because my number 2 meat is also rib steak. I actually put rib steak / rib roast because I like them both, but they are both, to my mind, they are the very, very best cut of beef. Most flavorful, most tender, best all around flavor and ability to like absorb the bone. When you have a steak on the bone, its ability to absorb charcoal smoke and radiate it into the meat makes me a little bit happy. Actually, it makes me a lot happy. We were discussing seasoning before. So when I'm talking about rib steaks, because it's a higher price point and it's bigger investment on my part, I go a little higher end with my garnishings. So I'll like dice fresh garlic and then rub that onto the meat instead of the garlic powder, a little salt, a little pepper, a little Montreal steak spice, and then off you go.
Yeah, I have that big can from Costco with all the chopped up garlic, and that's what I use.
So good. Fresh garlic is really, really handy and goes a long way towards making your food go from good to great. So I'm excited now. I am really excited. Number 1, our number 1 meat. We're both going to spit it out, but Derek's going to go first because, well,
you've already mentioned my meat's kind of boring, but for me, it's very versatile. It's plain old chicken.
Plain old chicken. So a roast chicken.
A roast chicken. Eat half of it. I get tons of protein, tons of what I need.
Yep.
And it's very simple, it's cheap, and it's good.
Yeah, to me, there's something very, very emotionally satisfying about going to the grocery store, buying one of those hot roast chickens, chopping into half of it, eating my half, grabbing some greens, and there's nothing better in the world.
When I used to work at a different gym, we used to be right beside a supermarket. Okay. And when you go in there and you can't cook anything, so you look for those chickens and you rip it. You're just sitting on your chair in your office, you rip half the breasts off. You're eating like a caveman. You feel like a warrior after you eat. Pretty much, Yeah, no, it wouldn't be the first time I've done that, and it probably won't be the last either. So, I'm right there with you. So my number 1 is very close to yours. It's super close to yours. In fact, it is the same as yours, but different. My number 1 meat is chicken shawarma on a spit. I could eat 500 shish taouk shawarma sandwiches in a day. I could eat 500. Like you could just keep like, oh, here, Marc, here's another sandwich. Just go ahead and eat. I'd be like, yes, please. I'll eat that sandwich now. Because I could eat shawarma till the cows come home. One of my favorite things to do, and I did it on the weekend, is I went to a Marché Adonis in the West Island where I live, and I bought a large tub of shish taouk chicken. You take the plastic top off, you cover it with saran wrap so you can open it, close it, put it in Tupperware, what have you. But every time I want a meal replacement, or a meal rather, I go in there, grab a handful of chicken, throw it on top of some spinach, eat it, and meal. And healthy, fantastic, super tasty. It is, bar none, my favorite meat. You would have been great friends with one of my childhood friends. His name's Eddie, and his father was Lebanese. So every weekend I go visit him. She had her own skewer. She had her own garlic sauce, shish tofu, and she'd make it nonstop.
Right.
And you know how mothers are sometimes like, hey, have more.
Manja.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm like,
eat
oh,
more.
I'm good. And my buddy's just laughing, eat. And there's like the pita bread, and then you're picking up with your hand, and it was just so awesome.
I'm sort of ashamed to say I don't enjoy garlic mayonnaise. I don't like mayonnaise
Shame on you.
all. I've heard that. Like, people are like, you don't know what you're missing. I'm like, I'm okay. Most places I like to have hot sauce instead of mayonnaise on my sandwiches. So that sort of gets the moisture into the chicken, as it were. But I could eat those sandwiches without any sauce at all. They are like, shish tofu chicken is, it's honestly, it's to die for. And I'd run into traffic for shish tofu chicken.
Yep, especially when you have the little crunchy parts, the ones that are overcooked.
Yeah, the little crispy parts on the edge. The other day I went and the lady started cutting those off. I'm like, no, put those on my sandwich.
Yeah, can you scrape the bottom and put it on my plate?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly how that went. Awesome, fantastic. So this has been an absolute delight. I love talking food. It's one of my favorite things, but I also love talking training. So I thought it might be fun for us today to get into a quick quiz about our favorite lifts for different muscle groups. So now we've given you a way for all of our listeners to stuff their faces, but now we're going to give you guys a chance to, work off some of those meat sweats. So Derek, we're going to talk legs. What's your favorite leg lift?
It's going to have to be the squat.
Yeah. Back squat?
Back squat. Actually, you know what? I really enjoy the front squat.
Yep.
But I enjoy both. I've just, since I opened up my gym and I don't have machines, I learned to love the squat.
Yep.
And even when I first started working out, I used to dive into those 20 rep squat programs or powerlifting squat programs. It was just squat. That's all I ever heard. And everything just felt right when I do a good squat.
Right.
We all know that feel when everything just smooth. Yeah. It doesn't have to be heavyweight, lightweight. It's a smooth.
No,
rep.
it feels, your heels are down, you're in and out of your 90 degrees, you feel good, and there's no joint pain, which is why back squats are not my favorite leg lift. My favorite leg lift is probably familiar to you. I've done it at your place, is trap bar deadlifts.
Oh, right.
I love trap bar deadlifts. One, because I'm old. So they are designed to help folks who don't necessarily move as well as they used to into their 40s or have had some traumatic injuries to do the heavy squats. So I'll put, 400 pounds on there and just go to work. And there's nothing more satisfying than when that massive weight hits the platform after you're done. And everybody looks around going, oh, how much weight is that guy lifting? It really feels satisfying.
I saw the dents when I came back to the gym after.
Yeah. It was a lot of on and off. It was a lot of weight on and off, but it was extremely satisfying. And those are my favorite. Trap bar deadlifts. I love them. Another favorite is lateral lunges. I enjoy those because it works my tush. So I enjoy that. Chest triceps.
Chest and triceps. I would have to say I truly enjoy dips for both muscle groups. Bench press, I always end up hurting my shoulder. One time I tore a muscle doing bench press. I still do it, but it's not my favorite. So for chest, I would usually go for a dip, but I have this new bar at the gym. It's called a Swiss bar, and your hands are parallel. So instead of having them pronated, and I find it gives me such a better workout.
It's a neutral grip instead of a pronated grip.
Yeah. And it gives me a better pump, a better feel. Yeah. So that's what I've been experimenting with for like the last month, and I have no pain at all.
So Swiss bar bench press.
Right.
Nice. Well, I got to say I'm pro heavy incline press with gusts up to decline press. I really like playing with the angle on my chest exercises. And both of those work for me because I'm successful at doing them. I have a lot of upper body strength, so it's easy for me. And so it feels good. So, we naturally tend to be inclined towards those things in the gym that we do well. That's one of those things I do well. And those are my favorite. I like decline press because my shoulders are strong. So I can push more than most on average in that weight. So that feels good too, because everything's a competition.
It is. We don't say it is, but it is.
We don't say it is, but it is.
I'm thinking, what's he benching? What can I do now?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh yeah, hold my beer. Okay, so now we got into chest triceps, which are our pushes. So let's discuss our pulls. Back biceps.
Back biceps. I've been kind of loving the pull-up.
Yeah.
I've been, as I trim down, I can do more pull-ups.
Yeah, that's the fun part about it is.
I learned how to do modified pull-ups, so I can actually get a good feel for them. There's so many back exercises. Actually, you know what? I did one today, And right now this is one of my favorites. It's I forgot the correct name for it, but it's a landmine row.
Okay, yeah.
But your body's is only at a 30-degree angle. So you're not really bent over so much.
Yes.
And you're just rowing just until your elbow comes to your waist.
Yes, to your waist. Yeah.
And I got the biggest cramp in my lat and trap area.
Yes, because your core has to work to provide support throughout. Yes.
And I was like, I'm getting cramped. And I didn't use a lot of weight, maybe 25, 30.
But your oblique has to brace your lat, and so your lat cramps.
Yeah. And I was like, this is great. And you're walking, all of a sudden you got the suitcase feeling going on. You're like, I feel it.
It really feels good. I actually had a client doing that this morning. He's like, hey, that really feels good. I'm like, right? This is a client who requires more core training, but is a man in his 50s. So I have to train his core without telling him I'm training his core.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it was quite enjoyable for him to experience that and the pump at the same time.
I couldn't believe it.
So so that nice narrow grip landmine row, can be. I threw 25 pounds on there for him this morning, and he was more than happy with that.
And it's all about feeling that back muscle too. So there's certain exercises that you can do that you can't quite feel it. Like I find if you're doing a bent over row, your lower back is stabilizing you, your hips, your hamstrings. But when you get
a lot of hamstring engagement.
So if your legs get sore, I find you start pulling with your back too much, and you're like, okay, I got to switch around. So I do one arm on the landmine, and for today it was like fantastic.
Well, you know what? I'm going to stay in that same vein. I'm going to say my favorite back biceps is chest supported bent over rows in one of those apparatuses that allows you to throw a couple of plates on and pull in with the chest.
Yep.
Because one, it keeps our shoulders and torso in place. It forces you to isolate just on the back and the biceps. Yep. Second is it's really tough. Yeah. Like it is tough. It's one of the more challenging exercises in the gym. And I love it. And I want to keep pushing numbers higher.
Yeah. And it's because you can't cheat on it. You can focus more on pulling the weight back. We'll focus on the muscle. A quick story. I was training beside Claude Gruel. He was the over 40 master bodybuilder
world champion.
Yep. And he had a 45-pound plate on there, and he's repping out. He's jacked. He's veiny. I was stupid 19, 20 years old. I'm on the T-bar right beside him. That wasn't supported. I had like 3 45-pound plates on there. I'm swinging. I'm making the noise. I'm like, I must look like a total doof next to this guy.
He's doing tight. His reps are in rhythm, and
so it made me think. I'm like, okay, maybe the more weight isn't always better.
No,
so that's when I started learning on my own and seeing what other people do. Like people that are built, see what they do. Not the big strong guy, but the built guy.
Well, Andre Bégin was one of Montreal's first bodybuilders back in the 50s and 60s, and he has always espoused the idea of hundreds and sets of hundreds. When I started studying under him in college in Cégep, he was having us do reps of 100. He was having me do 100 bicep curls with a broomstick. It weighed nothing. But by the time you got to 100 reps, you're like, okay, I can really feel this now. Yep. So I applied that training for a few years, and in my 20s, it worked really well. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that in my 30s and 40s, hundreds don't work nearly as well.
You'd have to break up to 10 sets of 1 or 10 sets of 10.
It is obscene how much harder that is to do into your 30s and 40s. So I don't recommend it for anybody in their 30s and 40s. But if you're going to do it, go light.
Yeah.
if you really have to. So those are among my favorites. So we would be remiss if we left out abdominals. So do you have a favorite abdominal exercise?
Well, they all kind of suck. I don't like any of them.
Yeah, they all suck.
But I do actually feel when I'm doing, say, a leg raise on an incline bench.
Yes.
So I can get that extra little rotation at the top.
Yep.
And I do my reps nice and slow. I try to feel it. So I don't need 30, 40 reps, maybe 10 to 12. And
in the decline.
Yeah, on the decline position.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I like those ones too. My favorite abdominal exercise is good old fashioned plank, because I like challenges. And so I like to just hold that as long as I possibly can. So I've been doing my sets at 3 minutes the last little while, which is
that's good.
It's a long time. It feels really long.
It feels like half an hour when you're doing it yourself.
Yeah. So 3 minutes is long. So I've been doing, I work through a mini circuit. So I'll do like one abdominal exercise, the 3-minute plank, and then another abdominal exercise. By the time I'm done those 3, I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to move on to another muscle group. Thank you very much.
All right.
But the ones I would add also would be something I call a bench crunch, where I lie on a bench and I start my knees up in a tabletop position. I hold a dumbbell up over my sternum with 2 hands clasped under the top part of the dumbbell. Then I push my legs out almost like a leg raise, and I extend the dumbbell back over my head. Okay. And then using my upper abdominals, I crunch everything back together. Knees in, dumbbell in. Okay. And that to me is one of my favorite little ones. I'm going to show that to you one time the next time I come in.
Right here.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we have a dumbbell in the studio, but you know,
downstairs.
Downstairs. Yeah, we have a couple dumbbells downstairs. I'm not going to say their names. So things that pissed us off this week is cardio. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you now. We're going to switch gears and say, hey, what's your favorite cardio exercise? You mentioned you were running and biking. Are those are those the number one?
Yeah, I never said running. I don't run.
Oh, sorry.
But either the walking on the treadmill, which I found didn't really do much for me. Right. My heart rate didn't increase. But the biking. It gave me a high heart rate. And after I'm done 30, 40 minutes of it, I feel fantastic. Right. Legs feel pumped. And that's my thing.
Right. Bike. Well, biking is my second favorite. When I first started teaching spin classes, I thought to myself, I'm going to hate this. Mm-hmm. And I freaking loved it. I couldn't believe how my opinion changed once I started teaching them, because you get out of there after 45 minutes or 50 minutes of spinning, you are gassed, but like you're a weird sort of alive gassed. It's not as demanding as a 45-minute weight training workout.
No, not at all.
It doesn't nearly put the load on your body, so you're sort of pumped up. That was mine. But my number one cardiovascular exercise is, because I am a big dude, battle ropes. I love battle ropes. Right. They are my number one. I love them so much. I use them to warm up. I use them to finish. I use them all over the place if I can. I know you got a couple. I bought 3 pairs 3 years ago, and I am very, very pleased with my expenditure. They have more than outlived their usefulness over that time. Speaking of cardio, the Super Bowl was recently. The halftime show was a whole bunch of really amazing hip hop artists. Kendrick Lamar, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, Eminem, Snoop Dogg. 50 Cent was there. 50 Cent showed up. 50 Cent was hanging from the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of discussion online about how 50 Cent is more of a buck now, because he was wearing a tank top, a white tank. He was performing in a white tank top that he used to perform in effectively back in 2003 when, Indie Club first came out. It is inarguable that 50 his body has changed over the years, much like many of our bodies has changed over the years. Is it appropriate to make fun of 50 for his weight gain? Well,
see, all the people that are probably looking at him and remember him looking like that, we're all probably at that age too. So we're all looking at him laughing, and the people that are laughing probably just look like him themselves. I find when we have somebody that we enjoy, we look up to, we picture them in a certain way. So when we see them many years after, when they come out of retirement or whatever the case is, they're not that lean self anymore.
Right.
So we tend to, sometimes our memories are trapped in the past.
Right.
So when I remember Hulk Hogan, I remember him big and beefy. Now he's skinny and scrawny. 50 Cent, I remember him talking about working out, and people were accusing him of steroids, and he's all jacked all the time.
Right.
And now, when you're not working out like you're 25 anymore,
right.
I'm just happy that he was there doing his thing, and people should enjoy his music, not just, oh, he's got a little belly.
Well, I would argue that 50 actually looked not bad for a man his age, first. And second, I don't really care what he looks like, because I still grooved to the song, still enjoyed it. I'm not sure how much he enjoyed hanging from the ceiling. I don't feel like that would be the way that I would go ahead to express my artistic creativity. But hey, to each their own, right? He was a real pleasant surprise to have show up. I thought it was really cool. And so I will remember it pretty fondly for a long time.
Like, the five greatest hip hoppers that were online or on the stage? 5 or 6? Yeah. So be happy that they're all there at the same time doing their thing and everybody's grooving to it.
Yeah. And we even had California Love for the late Tupac. So,
right.
So that is, I suppose that is probably a pretty fair statement. I mean, 50 is not 25 anymore. Mm-hmm. He's almost 50.
Yeah.
So he looks 50. Well, you know what? Great.
Yeah, he was up there doing it, not just sitting back and
enjoying chicken wings during a halftime show like the rest of us, right?
Exactly.
So give 50 some credit. He put himself out there. So we're on to our favorite part of the week, things that piss us off in fitness. And as we've teased throughout the show, that thing is going to be cardiovascular exercise. Derek, why do we hate cardiovascular exercise?
Sometimes I think in our mindsets, because it doesn't build muscle, it doesn't make us look jacked. It's something we see, I don't know if it's right to say, but women doing it on the treadmill with their coffee in their hand, just going easy. So when we think about cardio, we're like, yeah, that's not hard. But when you actually start doing it properly, you're like, yo, man, this is a workout. This is beneficial to me.
Yes. And I can argue that I am not alone in having that, I wouldn't say women, because women train very hard, but I would argue that maybe that lackadaisical exerciser you see in the gym, walk in, look around, doesn't have a plan, and just starts getting on an exercise machine with no rhyme or reason for what he or she is trying to do. And as you say, people who are in the gym and who treat the gym with respect as a place of self-improvement, which most lifters do, I'm very proud to say, that I think that can make us resentful sometimes.
You know, I was at a public gym way back when, and I went in the morning because I did my morning workout and I went to work. And there was always, we used to call them the coffee club. And unfortunately, at that time, it was just the women that come in and they did have their coffee and they're talking about their days and they weren't making a sweat. They're all done up, looking good in the mirrors and stuff like that. So at a young age, that's how I envision cardio. Right. I'm like, I ain't ever doing that. But yeah, like you said, now the women do train hard now.
Yeah, no, I watch my daughter train and I'm like, kid, I need to train like you.
yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. So yeah, that's one of the things that pisses me off. Like I'm ADHD. Anybody who works with us, it's immediately evident. Anybody who knows me personally, it's immediately evident. So for me, cardio is boring as hell. So I have a couple of mental tricks I play on myself in order to do cardio. First is I play some card game on my phone. I love playing online poker. So I play online poker on my phone, and that way I'm moving my legs and body and sweating while it happens. The one drawback to that is I'll put the phone on the machine and I'll sweat on the phone. So sometimes it'll bet when I don't want it to bet. Do you know what I mean? Because the sweat drip falls on the phone. And then other times the phone doesn't work because I've just sweat dripped on it and it thinks that's my finger and now the finger's not working somewhere else. So be that as it may, those are my issues about cardio. And the other issue is my other mental trick is when I'm out running. I like running outdoors. That's my favorite outdoor cardio. It's not great for my quad, my torn quad and my knees and my arthritis don't love running. But after I've done a little bit of it, boy, do I feel good. Mm-hmm. So I like to give myself really short goals. So I'll be like, okay, telephone pole, one telephone pole after another. So I'll be like, okay, I did 200 telephone poles. Well, I just did a 7K run. Perfect. No problem. Yeah. But one telephone pole at a time, just one. Short-term goals mean everything. Yep. I think that's about what we've got for today. Derek, it's been a pleasure. This has been Meatheads. I would highly recommend for all of us to keep our eyes on the prize in training. And as we always say around here, movement is medicine. Derek, any final thoughts? Any parting thoughts?
No, I just hope everybody's getting back to the gyms because I think they're opening up soon if they're not open now.
I think they're open at 50% capacity in Quebec. They will be open at 100% capacity on March 14th. But I would recommend that, maybe not so much gyms outside of Ganawage, but hey, maybe check in on Total Fitness.
Yeah, check us out.
Yeah, so we
don't close.
No, never closed. Nope. It's and it's a one-stop fitness shop. So everything you need is in there. It's been a pleasure as always. This has been Meatheads. My name is Marc Lalonde. Derek, as always, it's been wonderful. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening to Meatheads, and please check out our other podcasts on Apple, Spotify, or Google, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check out the front page, profiles, and the beating table.
The views and opinions of the guests expressed in this podcast do not reflect those of Iorì and its employees.